Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing the entire compilation for the Facet of Medicine. That's right, we're back with the Studium quest, and we're going to unlock it by speaking with Deborah here in Perfectly Awful. Deborah is looking a little green around the gills. Greetings, madam. I am Deborah, a student of the Nutritional Sciences from Professor Gavarocci's research laboratory at... Pray excuse me, at your service. If I'm not mistaken, you're the alchemist who's come to us by way of Kier Alapo's introduction, yes? Wonderful. I would very much like to request your help with a certain... Oh my... Forgive me, my stomach is not entirely at its best. Professor Galvarich bid me try a sample of a newly created comestible, you see. The taste was, well, and the texture... Oh dear, perhaps you should just experience it firsthand. One mouthful is worth 1,000 words and all that. Pray join me at Maker's Meet and I can initiate you in the wonders of experimental foodstuff. Foodstuff. Okay, if we're going to be dealing with food, then maybe we better do this as a culinarian. Probably for the best anyway. I'm going to have a lot of work to get everything leveled up. Okay, so we have Deborah here. Thank you ever so much for coming. Let's set the table for you, shall we? On first inspection, it seems to be an ordinary loaf of bread, yes? Now try a slice. Oh, look at her face. The initial flavor is akin to chewing on rotten garbage, which gradually transitions into an overwhelming sensation of nausea. It is quite possibly the worst thing you've ever eaten. Doesn't it taste awful? When it comes to the perfect meal, flavor is irrelevant. Professor Gavaroch, I wasn't... Why, the very concept of gourmet cuisine has led to all manner of unhealthy excess. Too much salt, too much sugar, and entirely too much fatty content is employed in the pursuit of satisfying this obsession with taste. The panna loaf we are laboring so hard to produce will contain everything necessary to sustain an adult body in one efficient, easily consumed serving. As I said, the perfect meal. Professor, if I might introduce... By Thaliac, all this time wasted on idle chatter. If we are ever to attain true perfection, then every spare moment must be spent upon our research. Your task was to improve the panna loaf's digestibility, was it not? Then let us be getting on with it. Swift, sure, efficient. Jeez, why do we keep running into jerks around here? You must excuse the professor's brisk manner. I know he seems eccentric, but the field of nutritional science was practically built upon the foundation of that man's research. Surely you've heard of the infamous Archon loaf. It was Professor Galvarich who proposed the recipe. Oh, so he made that stuff. In any case, I do apologize for serving you such foul-tasting creation, but I needed you to understand the gravity of the situation. Come to the last stand, and I shall offer you something to cleanse your palate, which I more fully explain the issue at hand. So heading off to the last stand. I'm kind of lost at what's going on here, but I find it strangely fascinating at the same time. Okay, here we go. Scholars Harbor. So that guy's the one who invented the Archon loaf. And they say that it's supposed to be an extremely healthy bread. I guess it's extremely healthy food that has all the nutritions that you need to basically survive, but the taste leaves much to be desired. So how can a meal be perfect if it tastes so bad? That's what I want to know. she is. Pray take a seat, and I shall be with you in a moment. I hope you still have an appetite. Aw, cute. Ah, a giant lobster! Well, when I'm not studying, I actually work here in the kitchens, and that one there is a dish I devised myself, using all the knowledge I've acquired about food and flavor. Enjoy! That's friendly. I like that idea. This is heavenly. Since I can't taste it myself, I'll take Claire's word for it. I'm so glad you liked it. What you do is you take a lobster freshly caught from the Indigo Deep, scoop out the meat and saute with butter and olive oil. Next you steam in white wine, but you must take care not to overcook it at this point. You're making me hungry. You then need to stuff it back into the shell, sprinkle liberally with thyme, oregano, and rosemary before baking in the oven at a steady heat. Not too hot, of course, and then... Yes, thank you. I'll take your word for it. Oh, my apologies. As you may have noticed, cooking is something of a passion of mine. Which brings us to my present problem, and the reason I so desperately require your assistance. It all began when agents of the Forum contacted Professor Galvarich, seeking to draw upon his wisdom and the nutritional expertise of his research facility. Their request was simple. They wished him to invent a singular meal that could provide all the daily nutrition a person needs to survive. They expressed their intent to develop a food supply for emergencies, and thus the only condition imposed was that it be possible to prepare this miracle dish from ingredients readily available in Labyrinthos. For his part, the professor threw himself into the work with routine intensity, using Archon loaf as a base to devise a new type of bread, the most recent batch of which I inflicted upon you earlier. Archon loaf was never praised for its flavor to begin with, and it seems the more nutrition you pack into the mix, the more revolting it becomes. Some volunteers have even been known to retch up the contents of their bellies after choking down a sample. Suspecting that a difficulty with digestion was to blame, Professor Galvarich asked that I work on making our meal easier to stomach. But the fact is, it simply tastes terrible. Can you imagine if there truly was some emergency and we were forced to live on Panaloaf alone? People would survive, of course, but gods, would they wish they hadn't. To make matters worse, the professor sees gourmet cooking as a wasteful abomination. If the Forum adopts his recipe, there is a very real chance he might champion Panaloaf not only as a candidate for emergency supplies, but as a new nationwide food staple. By and large, Sharlayans prefer meals that are easily prepared and easily consumed over more flavorful but less time-efficient culinary efforts. Scholars busy with their research will settle for sandwiches more often than not. And that ambient attitude towards food is exactly why I fear this horrible bread might actually be accepted into our everyday diets. As a Sharlayan myself, I never had much interest in fine dining. Then I tried a dish at the last stand, and it was as if an entirely new world had opened up before me. I soon discovered that a course in nutritional science would grant access to a vast repository of information on recipes and ingredients, so I enrolled as a student at the Studium's Faculty of Medicine. But their approach to food preparation was purely academic. Ultinarian, I reasoned that if I were to learn anything about gourmet cooking, then finding employment here would be the surest route. In fact, I was on the brink of abandoning my former studies altogether when this request came in from the Forum. As a lover of fine foods, nay, as a person with a functional tongue, I am compelled to prevent this crime against cuisine from entering society in its current form. Fortunately, I have the opportunity to improve the Panaloaf's flavor under the guise of carrying out the professor's instructions. It will, however, be exceedingly difficult to enhance the taste without sacrificing any nutritional value, especially considering my lack of practical experience. My theory is sound, but when it comes to technical expertise... And that, my dear culinarian, is why I need you. If you do decide to help, then please, I beg you, come and see me at Maker's Meat. Well, that was kind of a long-winded explanation, but... yeah, let's go see what we can do to help her. It's just the way they described how disgusting it was made me see, like, this is not a good thing. I know that the scholars here are so focused on their research that they don't really care about, like, fine dining or anything. And I can understand that for the most part, but come on, you can't live off disgusting foods like your entire life. Oh, there you are. Can I assume this means you wish to aid me with my Penelope predicament? No one else must suffer as I have. Then I gladly accept your assistance. Praise the scholar for bringing us the savior in our hour of need. Oh dear me, I just realized, how could I put you through all that and not ask your name? Well, you wouldn't be the first. Well then, Claire, I look forward to working with you. Alright, so that's taken care of. Okay, the Faculty of Medicine is now unlocked. So the next quest should be open right now. Make it sweeter. Deborah is eager to begin the process of improving the Penelope. Let us get straight down to business, shall we? The main problem with Penelope is that the recipe calls for a wide variety of wholesome substances, resulting in an extremely electric and subsequently extremely disgusting mixture of flavors. Now I managed to bake a slightly less repulsive version by adjusting the balance of ingredients, but the taste remains indistinct and unsatisfying. It needs seasoning of some kind, and badly. To that end, I put together a recipe for a sweetener using those materials which are readily available in Labyrinthos, not in any amount which could contradict our healthy and nutritious mandate, of course. Concocting the sweetener itself, however, is a job for the experts, and so I'd like to entrust it to you. Very soon, we have taken our first step to making the Penelope halfway enjoyable. Alright, so let's look it up. The sweetener. Alright, so garlic sugar, lime basil, and gabruya. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get those ingredients since I kind of ran out. So yeah, I'll be back in just a quick moment. Okay, so I just got all the ingredients that I needed, so we should be good to go from there. So here we go. Delicate synthesis, another delicate synthesis, and why not, we'll do one more. Okay, that should be good. Now innovation, great strides, and Brygod's blessing. Oh, okay, there we go. Alright, we're done. So let's go ahead and head straight back to the Studium. The recipe for the sweetener isn't giving you any trouble, I hope. I can hardly wait to see how it turns out. Thank you, Claire. After trying a little taste, I can safely say that you've managed to hit the sweet spot. Not overly mild and not overly rich. Okay, we've begun to earn Deborah's trust. see what happens now. With your sweetener added to the mix, I went ahead and baked a second test batch of panaloaf. As for the results, well, I took some samples over to the last stand for the customers to try. They say that the taste was passable, which is a significant improvement over the nausea-inducing wretchedness of the original recipe. As I had hoped, a little sweetness was instrumental in tying the meowed flavors together. The key here being a little sweetness. We wouldn't want to go overboard and endanger the nutritional balance of our perfect meal. Oh, I'm told one of our regulars is at his table today, and he is a man with a decidedly peculiar palate. Why don't we head over and ask for his impression of our second batch? Interesting idea. If I may ask, what did you think of the bread, sir? Not bad, not bad. I give the flavor a passing grade. The texture, however, needs some attention. The texture. Just not overly noticeable with the bite-sized sample, but after one or two full slices, I fear one might begin to struggle with the somewhat dry and powdery consistency. I had not considered that. Thank you for your most valuable insights, sir. We will certainly keep that in mind for future batches. Well, that's nice. We didn't have to run all the way back to the last stand ourselves. Well, that was a much-needed reminder. In my rush to enhance the flavor, I've neglected to account for changes in the texture. Introducing the sweetener must have affected the consistency of the dough. Nothing is ever simple, is it? Improving the texture will be our next task, then. I'll give the problem some thought, and we can work together on creating the solution. Alright, so that was a nice way to end the particular quest. So we're a reliable baker now. Alright, so we can do this either as an alchemist or a culinarian. And the next quest... yeah, it's going to be at 83. So we'll be back once we reach 83. Alright, so I'm back and I'm ready to see how far we're going to push this whole thing. So we are going to continue working on the bread with Remember the Texture. Dabori appears to have a revelation. Claire, my partner in Panaloaf improvement. I've been researching the subject of texture, and I think I found the cause of our powdery problem. The answer lies in the yeast. It seems the sugar content of the sweetener weakened its usual effects, preventing the dough from being fully leavened. Which means that if we can create a yeast more properly suited to sweeten dough, then our bread will be as moist as we care to make it. Knowing, however, is not quite the same as doing. While I understand the basics, formulating yeast from scratch is rather beyond my current abilities. Once more, I must call upon you to rise to the occasion. Sorry. Alright, so we're going to be making our own handmade yeast. I didn't know you could do that. Okay, so panaloaf yeast. And, well, I'll go ahead and make one right now. I know that there are many other combinations that you could use to get a full 100. This is just the one that I like to use. Okay, so at least I was able to show you how to make one, but I have to go and get a few more ingredients. Be right back. Okay, here we go. I'm back. I went ahead, got the rest of the ingredients, and made the other 5 batches of yeast that we need. So we're just about to turn them in. I'm afraid our bread will never be all that it can be if we cannot solve this yeastly dilemma. Again with the puns. Now that is some potent looking yeast. Trust me, after the hours I spent staring at such things during my studies, the quality is obvious. Thanks to all your hard work, the 3rd test batch of panna loaf turned out just as moist as we'd hoped. And all without compromising the original integrity of the nutritional content. It was well received by the clientele of the Last Stand, and even our difficult-to-please regular gave it his seal of approval. I would, however, like to hear the opinion of the, to my knowledge, foremost gourmet in Sharlayan. I speak of Master Dickon, the owner of the Last Stand. Everything I know about gourmet cooking I owe to that man. Come, why don't we go and see what he has to say? Master Dickon, what did you think of the 3rd batch? It's a decent loaf, all right. Certainly a far cry from what you started with. That very first sample tasted like a sponge fished out of a sewer ditch. I expect you have your new friend to thank for the sudden leap in progress. I swore a vendetta against that foul-tasting evil. You're so dramatic, Claire. Oh, my dear Claire, you are a gourmet after my own heart, a crusader for culinary quality. Be that as it may, you yet have work to do. You've worked wonders with the taste and the texture, but there's no aroma. It needs a savory scent to draw you in and set your mouth to watering. So it isn't smelly enough. The road to gastronomic excellence is never ending, it seems, but if that is what it takes to earn your full approval, then we must bake on. You remind me of old Mevin. He was the fellow who built this place and dedicated his life to bringing fine food to Sharlayan. Oh, so he was the student who could stand it no more and came here to have some decent food. That life ended before he truly accomplished his goal, and the Last Stand passed on to me. For even now, gourmet cooking remains something of a foreign concept in this nation. It's the kind of place where puffed-up experts like your professor label their nutritional experiments the perfect meal, as if anything with such a revolting flavor could ever be deemed perfect. Thank you! I've been saying that! Listen, the Last Stand was named so for a reason. We're a culinary outpost, the final defense against those who would condemn Sharlayan's diet to blandness and monotony. If you share Melvin's dream, and I believe you do, then I implore you to carry on his legacy. After hearing what Master Dickon had to say, I'm more determined than ever to make a fully perfected panna loaf. As before, allow me some time to congiate on the problem, and then we can see about adding a tantalizing aroma to the next batch of bread. Alright, so that's taken care of. And we're an indispensable baker. Alright, so we'll go ahead and leave that for right now. Be back as soon as we're up to level 85. Alright, we're back! Thank you so much for joining me. We are now at the halfway point at level 85. So this is actually going to be 2 quests rolled into one, I guess, with Aroma is Key. I think I have it, Claire. A method to infuse the panna loaf with a more alluring aroma. The key is to blend a more fragrant oil into the dough, which will not only lend our bread a lovely scent, but to also improve its savory flavor. Oils and fats need to be kept to an absolute minimum, of course, so we'll need a variety that provides the greatest effect for the smallest amount. I have a basic idea of how a low-fats aromatic substance might be achieved, but oil require your help with the advanced process involved to make it. Sorry, that was terrible. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on making this oil. Here we go, and we have everything here to make some. So, pan of oil, almost done. There we go. Fragrant oil, that must be the secret ingredient in our fourth and hopefully final test batch. Gracious me, that smells incredible. I'm actually drooling. Once we work that aroma into the bread, people will be lining up to try a slice. And we've done it, Claire. The aromatic temptation of our fourth batch has proved irresistible. Last Stand patrons have even started placing orders for us to bake more. And in a happy coincidence, the new oil also served to pump out our loaf until it resembles a small, scrumpulous cloud. I even measured the fat content just in case, and we are well within the accepted parameters. Surely now we've achieved true baconary perfection. I suppose there's only one way to find out. Let's head over to the cafe and ask for Master Dickens' verdict. Please, Master Dickens, don't leave us in suspense. This is unacceptable. I cannot have you baking bread that's more delicious than mine. You've outdone yourselves this time. Full marks. Yes! And now that we have the Master's unconditional approval, I believe that signals an end to our testing process. We made a wonderful team, Claire. How disappointing to find you fritting away the hours like this, and here of all places. Oh, you again. You set aside my assignment on digestive issues to pursue the trivial art of gourmet cooking? Don't make it sound like it's a bad thing. I'll not deny it, that is exactly what I've been doing. And let me tell you why. The problem with Panaloaf was never a difficulty with digestion. It was the awful taste that was making people feel ill. Least you believe our efforts in vain, then I ask you try a sample of our fourth test batch. I think you'll find the flavor much improved. I have no interest in your mundane concerns over flavor. The very subject sickens me. What I will do, however, is analyze the nutritional value of your much improved Panaloaf. We'll see if it even meets the criteria for a proper meal substitute. What a jerk. Jeez. Does he have no taste buds? I must inform you that your fourth test batch is a failure. It is sorely lacking in absorbic acid, a vital nutrient which any prospective meal replacement must contain. Deficient levels of absorbic acid lead to outbursts of scurvy. 'Tis an illness which often afflicts sailors on long sea voyages, and can also be prevalent in times of famine and hardship. Citrus fruits are an effective measure to combat scurvy, but one cannot always rely on a fresh supply of oranges or lemons. As such, the perfect meal of choice is one which readily fulfills that role. I have already succeeded in adding this nutrient to my original panel loaf, and I am prepared to make my submission to the forum. But the acid, how did you... You expect me to reveal my techniques to one who has so blatantly disregarded my instructions? I am sorry, Miss Deborah, but you are hereby relieved from your current duty. So be it. I will perfect our version of panel loaf without your assistance and submit the recipe as a contender to your own. Oh, you go, girl. A contest, then, and may the best bread win. However, in the event that your recipe fails to garner the forum's favor, I will see you disciplined for the misuse of research funding. Your punishment will be expulsion from my research facility, nay, from the Studium itself. Well, that's a bit harsh. Professor Galvarech, if you're so intent on ruining my employer's future, then I think I'm entitled to a question or two. From what old Merville told me, the two of you were once classmates. More than that, you were good friends, so I'd like to understand. Why do you hold so much hate for the thing he held so dear? Ah, that is interesting. Melvin was an exceptional student, but he threw away his academic career for the love of a well-made meal. This cafe he built, the insistent taste testing, not more than excuses to indulge in course after course of gourmet food and drink. 'Twas reckless pursuit of that passion which sent him to an early grave. Your fine dining is a curse. It befuddled the mind of a brilliant young man, slew him as surely as any slow-acting poison. Now, if you'll have nothing further to say, I must return to my research. Swift, sure, efficient. Ah, there's definitely a lot more than I thought going on here. I had no idea the professor and Merva were ever acquainted, let alone classmates and friends. At least now I understand why my actions upset him so. But we cannot give up. For the sake of Sharlayan's bellies, you must help me win the forum's minds. Our crusade for culinary quality continues. Thank you, Claire. I shall figure out this issue with absorbic acid, and then we can start on test batch number 5. Although, I think it's time we had a proper name for our panel loaf. I nominate Mervyn bread, in honor of the Last Stand's founder. Let's get the oven heated up and show the professor what we and our loaves are made of. Oh, we're an irreplaceable baker. Okay, so now the special quest is going to be coming up. Okay, so the next quest is Long Live the Gourmet. Deborah is practically bursting with determination and purpose. As Professor Galvarich is so eagerly pointed out, our Mervyn bread cannot be considered a perfect meal until we load it with a sufficient quantity of absorbic acid. The problem is all the citrus fruit varieties grown in Labyrinthos have distressingly low values of this key nutrient. They say it has something to do with how the full sun cannot entirely replace the effects of natural sunlight. Thus, for our purposes, we are unlikely to improve the Mervyn bread's levels of absorbic acid simply by adding a Labyrinthos orange or two to the list of ingredients. And yet the professor claimed to have managed the feat. The question is, how? He synthesized the acid himself? Yes, it's entirely possible. He may have manufactured the nutrients using elements extracted from readily available Labyrinthos produce. The process he employed, however, is a mystery. It would take me months to research a manufacturing method from scratch, but we cannot allow the professor to submit his panel loaf unopposed. We need to consult with another expert on the subject. Razathan is the home of alchemy, and one of its noted practitioners, Master Jalvaz, is the Near East's leading authority on nutritional science. I've never had the pleasure myself, but perhaps he will ascend to an audience if we show up on his doorstep. This new etherite allows us to travel to Thavnar directly, so that should save us some time. Let us be swift, and sure, we might have to work on efficient. So we're going off to Thavnar. That's rare. I know I could probably just teleport there, but this is cheaper. This is really convenient. It really is. Instead of spending like 2,000 gil every single time we want to go from Sharlayan to Thavnar, we have an instant teleport. Okay. I wonder how she bore with the trip. She seems alright. Oh, I feel sick to my stomach, but it's nothing compared to the nausea I suffered under one bite of the professor's panaloaf. Come on, we'll find Master Jalvaz in the city proper. Wow. I didn't know it was that bad. I remember how we all were when we first got here. And apparently that was not nearly as bad as the whole idea of going. Oh my god. Okay, so we're closer to the city. And I'm gonna ride there, but we'll skip ahead for you guys. Alright, we're back here in the city. I thought of coming here. It's so bright. So this is the fabled city of Razat Han. It's even more vibrant than I imagined. Yes, this is my first visit to Thavnar. To be perfectly honest, this is the first time I've ever left Sharlayan. What of you, Claire? Have you been here before? Oh yes, many times. Then you can lead the way. I've studied the layout of this place from top to bottom on parchment, but in flesh, I'd probably get us lost before we take in 10 steps. The documents I've read mention Master Jalvez's affiliation with the High Crucible of Alchemia. I wonder though, the man should be getting on in years, and he may very well be retired. Anyway, it's somewhere to start. Let's head there now and see if he's still in residence. Oh, she's following us! Was not expecting that! Seems that everywhere you look there's another sight to dazzle the senses. Yeah, and Vitra was the one who helped build this city, so I guess this is kind of his style. Was not expecting Deborah to be able to follow us. This is a first for all of the crafting classes that we had here. So at least we don't have to go too far. Jalvaz, never heard of the fellow. He may have worked here once, but I know no one of that name among my present colleagues. And I suppose he is retired after all. Actually, considering his age, there's no guarantee that the man is even... Well, let us assume he is still among us for the moment. Shall we continue our inquiries on the floor below? So there's a chance he might be dead. Well, that would suck. spared no expense in this facility. When it comes to the level of alchemy, When it comes to the fields of alchemy, it would seem that Razat Han is moms ahead of everyone else, even the learned professors of Sharlayan. You're looking for Jalvez, the alchemist? That would be my great-grandfather, but it's been quite some time since he last worked here. Your great-grandfather. He was a great man. Oh, he is. Over 100 summers young and is still going strong. Wow. As a prominent scholar of nutrient and health, he's always practiced what he preaches. Why, he's even spry enough to visit the tavern from time to time. If you head over to Mildred's Mehan, you may chance to see him there. That's wonderful news. Thank you. I am very eager to meet him. There you have it, Claire. Our destination is Oh dear, Etherite travel did not agree with me. Deep breaths, and away to Mildred's Mayhem we go. I don't think that's Etherite sickness. I really don't. Oh man, the problem is we have to go all the way there on foot, don't we? That's not fair. We going the right way? I think so. I still very easily get lost in the city. It's so big. Whoa, I didn't know that was there. Sorry, just have to take a quick look out. Been doing the sightseeing log recently. So much chemical equipment, even with all the time I've spent at the Faculty of Medicine. I've never seen half of these devices. Perhaps I should spend some time studying here in Thavnar. Go right ahead. That would be fun for you. I don't see anyone who matches the portrait from the books, which makes sense considering how young he was in that particular picture. I wonder what he... Oh. Oh, she just dropped. Miss? Oh, of course. Don't you worry now, young lady. I'll brew a remedy that'll put you back on your feet in a twinkling. How much you want to bet this is the guy? Thank you, sir. I feel ever so much better. I've never heard about a bout of ether sickness lasting this long. Oh no, my dear. You are quite clearly suffering from a severe lack of anemia. All the symptoms point to a lack of absorbic acid. Without that nutrient, your body has trouble absorbing iron, which in turn leads to thinning blood, a disturbing pallor, and extreme fatigue. The medicine I gave you will remedy the immediate issue, but I strongly suggest you rethink your dietary habits. We wouldn't want your youthful promise stolen by a fateful cause of scurvy now, would we? think on it, I've been eating nothing but panaloaf samples since we started all this. It stands to reason that our yet-to-be perfected meals would leave me low on absorbic acid. Hell yeah, take me, I almost made the same mistake as Mervyn. Your knowledge of the nutritional sciences is most impressive, Master. Oh, it's just plain old Javaz these days, my dear. I'm retired now, but I've learned a thing or two about healthy eating and longevity over the years. So you are Javaz, I knew it! My name is Deborah, and I study nutrition at the Studium in Sharlayan. I come seeking wisdom from the foremost expert in the field, that being you, of course. If you know of a viable laboratory method for manufacturing absorbic acid, then I humbly request that you instruct me in the process. Well, isn't this a coincidence? It wasn't long ago that a professor from your studium approached me looking to solve the exact same dilemma. Oh, I wonder who that could be. Yes, I know of a method. I was the one who discovered it, but the sweat of my brow comes at a price, Mr. Boré, and a rather rich one at that. How rich? The professor paid it without so much as raising an eyebrow, but I'm afraid the cost of my services is beyond the means of the average student. Still, it hardly seems fair to turn you away at the gates. I'll tell you what, why don't I make you a deal? You see, I have always been a lover of curries, but when you've eaten as many as I have, you begin to grow tired of the same heinous flavors. Then I recently came to learn of an Eorzean-style curry plate that I am desperate to try. I've obtained the recipe from a trader, and I've even gone so far as to gather the ingredients so the cook here can take a stab at preparing the dish. But now destiny has seen fit to drop a pair of Western travelers in my lap, and who better to make Western cuisine than the natives of those lands, eh? So here's my offer. You prepare the curry and I teach you the method, provided my palate is properly tickled. We accept! I promise you we'll make the most delicious curry you've ever tasted. That other visitor was almost certainly Professor Galvarich, which means the process he learned is one which can be followed using resources from Labyrinthos. And what's more, Eorzean curry is one of the last stand's most famous dishes. I made it many times. First, you caramelize the onions to bring out their sweetness, add the balian dice, your choice of meat, and stew until tender. Oh, and be sure to skim the floaty bits from the water, of course, and then... Yeah, okay, Deborah, save it for the kitchen! Sorry, I did it again, didn't I? Anyway, yes, I know all the steps. Aside from mixing the golden spice, Master Dickon always was the one who prepared that ingredient. If you could take care of that part, then I'll be more than happy to handle everything else. As I said, I have all the ingredients you need and more besides. Cook away and let me know if you're running low on anything. My mouth is watering at the thought. Okay, so this is a little bit tougher than before. That's fine. We can handle this, no problem. There we go. Almost done. There. How's that spice mixture coming along? Right here. It smells wonderful. This will give our curry the perfect amount of zest. So this is what the Eorzean curry looks like. The colors, the aroma, it's so different to what we serve here. Now for the all-important taste. Is it to your liking, sir? It's fantastic. The more you eat, the more the layers of flavors compound into a harmonious orchestra of deliciousness. They say you could taste the chef's intention in the meal, and your determination to impress me has infused every bite. Then, you'll share your method with us? Of course I will. A meal such as this is worth more than a man's weight in gold. So coconut milk is the key. They have coconuts in Labyrinthos? Thank you so much, Jalvis, sir. There is one more thing I would ask, if I may. What, in your opinion, is the biggest secret to health and long life? A well-balanced diet is important, no doubt about that, but I believe you must enjoy what you eat. It's always seemed to me that digestion is aided by how much one relishes a meal, and the better one's digestion, the more nutrients one's body absorbs. Exactly, I often thought the same myself. You've been a great help to us, sir. We wish you many more years of healthy living to come. And though I would love to more thoroughly explore Razat Han's gourmet delights, we must hurry back to Sharlayan, perhaps another time. And of course. Such a glorious meal. If enjoyment truly does improve one's health, then I think I just added 10 years to my life. Well, good for you! But that makes a lot of sense. If you actually enjoy a meal, then the more nutrients you absorb. So, given how poorly Panelope is, chances are you're not getting all the nutrients you need because you don't even want to eat the stuff. So, that makes a lot of sense. Alright, let's head back. That was a lot of fun, this quest. It really was. Let's just teleport back. It's a bad habit of mine. I'm just so used to just running through the streets. Alright, let's see. Thank you, Claire, for accompanying me to such a far-flung locale and on such short notice. I don't know if I could have secured that alchemical process from Jalvis without your assistance. But now that we have it, our next batch of Melvin bread will be well and truly perfect. This time for certain. Okay, so level 88. Alright, so let's go ahead and put a pause there. And the next... Okay, so let's go ahead and put a pause there. Be back in a sec. Okay, from all the other level 88 quests that we've done, I predict this one's going to be pretty short, but let's go ahead and take care of it. Okay, perfectly delectable. Deborah's in a state of despair. Oh no, what happened now? Oh, Claire! I've been trying and trying to make that absorbic acid. I've done exactly as Jalvis instructed, following his steps to the letter, but it all ends in failure. As embarrassing as it is to admit, I simply lack the expertise. The process required a far more competent hand than mine. So here I am at the last, asking for your help once more. Please, I need you to manufacture the additive that will perfect our perfect meal. Okay, so we're gonna have to make the acid ourselves. Okay, we've got actually some here with coconut milk, bergamot sack, and elder nutmeg seeds. Alright. I hate that rapid synthesis just blows up so often. Alright, we'll do careful synthesis. Takes a little longer, but hey, at least it's the trusted and true method. Okay. All our Mevrin bread needs is a viable absorbing additive. I may have failed in that endeavor, but I have faith that you will succeed. Okay, and I already had some prepared. Saves us trouble. Incredible, it's practically glowing with goodness, and this added to our creation. I have every confidence that the bread will pass any test they care to subject it to. With your additive well and added to the mix, I put a batch of Mevrin bread into the oven to bake. It should be ready any moment now. Whoa, that looks familiar. This is it, the final fluffy result of a much trial and error. Well, she probably doesn't need to know about Sin Eaters and mule, so it looks delicious. Well, have a bite. And how does it taste? Like streams of flavor blending into a single river of ambrosial delight. Wonderful, and the texture? It's like biting into a soft-baked cloud. Fantastic, and last but not least, what did you think of the aroma? That luscious, savory smell is to die for. Exactly what I thought. All the disparate elements have come together so well. Flavor, texture, aroma, not to mention a perfect balance of nutrients. And I have you to thank for this delectable achievement. Yes, I believe this current incarnation of Mevrin bread has a good chance of swaying the form in our favor. You are attending the evaluation, aren't you? In fact, I must insist upon it. Well, I wouldn't miss it after coming this far. I want to see the look on his face. Okay, we are a consummate baker. Wonderful. Alright, so there's one more quest left, which is Sharlayan Cuisine. So hopefully we're going to make some changes to the cuisine in this place. But let's go ahead and go straight on to it. Alright, we are back, and Claire is in her outfit, ready to go. We are at level 90, which we were able to do so before, but hey, who's counting? Anyway, we are going on to the quest, Sharlayan Cuisine. Deborah is brimming with confidence. This is it, Claire. The forum is ready to begin the evaluation process. We worked tirelessly on perfecting our submission, and I have every confidence that Mevrin bread will be the winning candidate. Come, let's make our way to the rostra, shall we? I mean, if it's that good, then chances are that it's not going to lose to one that's akin to tasting garbage. I know I said I was confident, but the thought of actually standing before the forum has my stomach all in knots. Courage, Deborah. Courage! Esteemed colleagues, we have convened today to evaluate and select a suitable candidate for our proposed meal substitutes. As previously discussed, this meal substitute will serve as an emergency provision, such as when our usual sources of food are restricted or otherwise unreliable. To be considered viable, the submission must satisfy our substantive conditions. Namely, it must be possible to prepare the meal using only the ingredients available in Labyrinthos, and that it also provides all the nutrients necessary to sustain day-to-day survival. Our first of two candidates is a panaloaf, submitted by Professor Galvarech, with whom I am sure you are all familiar. The second is Melvin bread, submitted by one Miss DeBore, a student of the Faculty of Medicine. Members of the Council of Culinary Assurance will select one of these candidates following a thorough nutritional analysis and trial consumption of the samples provided. Is it really necessary to get just 6 of them here in this big room? Our analysis has determined that both submissions meet the basic nutritional requirements to qualify as meal replacements. And just as they share the same nutritional value, the only consideration left to judge them is taste. Even being generous, it would be difficult to describe the flavor of panaloaf as pleasing. Melvin bread, on the other hand, is a culinary delight. On the grounds of this assessment, Melvin bread is clearly the superior choice. I beg to differ. Yes, I admit that panaloaf has little to offer in the way of gastronomic enjoyment. But have you considered the matter from the viewpoint of efficiency? Melvin bread's flavor requires the addition of specific sweeteners and oils, not to mention a particular variety of yeast, an involved process which demands excessive time and exertion. The recipe for panaloaf, however, was devised with simplicity in mind, allowing one to manufacture the same quality of food with but a fraction of the effort. I implore you to reconsider your decision. After all, this is an emergency constable that we are discussing here, not some gourmet menu item. You raise a valid argument, Professor. We have indeed overlooked the question of efficiency. Should a situation arise that necessitates a supply of emergency rations, then ease of manufacture would certainly be a primary concern, and in that respect your panaloaf holds a significant advantage. Don't tell me this. If I might offer an opinion, who is this? It's him. I recognize him. Master Flagostard, to what do we owe this unexpected pleasure? Curiosity, mostly. I may be retired, but all this talk of a perfect meal piqued my interest. Wait, I know you! And I know your delicious Melvin bread. It is an unfortunate act that fine food is oft regarded with contempt here in Sharlayan. Many see the pursuit of gourmet cuisine as a trivial distraction, an inefficient use of one's precious time. Yet when a tired researcher craves a refreshing cup of sweet tea, is it a question of simple desire, or is it the body's way of signaling the lack of a certain nutrient? And what of the comfort afforded by those inefficient tastes and flavors? Surely we've all experienced the calm and reassurance provided by a hearty dish. The same principle can be observed with the soothing familiarity of home-cooked favorites. Why, when my academic congulations are frustrated by some intractable problem, It is for that very soothing effort that I visit my beloved last stand. As such, I submit that taste plays a far greater role in our well-being than simple enjoyment. Imagine, if you will, a prolonged crisis, and then tell me which of these foods you would prefer to consume day after day after day. Oh, he's got them there. Faced with a struggle to survive, which of these meals would best serve to bolster your mental and emotional fortitude? To be perfectly honest, the very thought of eating panalo for more than a single day brings me to the edge of panic. Hardly a state one wishes to be in when dealing with a crisis. Yes, even when taking into account the additional effort required in its preparation, a satisfying meal is more like a contribute to a rational frame of mind, which in the long run may prove to be a more efficient benefit. Now that all the interested parties have made their arguments, the time has come to put the matter to a vote. The results speak for themselves. Panaloaf, 1 vote. Melvin Bread, 5 votes. Congratulations, Mr. Bore. Your submission has been accepted as Sharlayan's official emergency meal replacement recipe. Professor, your research is still very much a part of... Well, that was a near thing. At least until our last stand supporter chimed in. I never knew he was a former member of the Forum. I'd say we can safely call this the end of the matter, although there is one last thing I would ask of you, Claire. Despite his rigid way of thinking, Professor Galvarich is not a bad person. Perhaps I can make him a nice meal to soften the blow of his loss, with a little expert help. Alright, I'll get my apron. I knew you couldn't refuse. When you have a moment, come and meet me at the last stand. Yeah, I have a feeling like Galvarich hasn't had a decent meal, like a good tasting meal in a long time, so I think he's overdue for one. Then again, he might just be so used to bad foods that he might not be able to recognize the flavor. Now, as for the professor's meal, I thought we might make him a servant of fish cakes, one of our local specialties. According to Master Dickin, Mevrin and Galvarich used to eat them all the time during their student years. To prepare the fish cakes, you take a white fish and some onion, grind it all into a paste. Add milk and pepper and knead well, then sprinkle in the flour before rolling the mixture into oval shapes and frying them in boiling hot oil. You don't need the entire recipe. But I would like you to prepare the all-important fish paste. The rest of the dish you can leave to me. If you find yourself lacking ingredients, Master Dickin has graciously agreed to provide us with whatever you need. Ask and you shall receive. I'd happy to see you wipe the frown from that sour-faced grump. Right, let's get cooking. Okay. Fish cake ingredients. Oh, it's hard to believe we're almost done. I really enjoyed this quest line. I really did. Damn, I ran out. I got no choice. Oh no. Oh, that works out great. Perfect. Alright, here we go. How is your part of the recipe coming along? Just barely. Perfect. This will be the ingredient which brings the whole dish together. I've already sent a message to Professor Galvarich asking him to meet us here. Hopefully he hasn't eaten yet. If he has, it's just been nothing but panaloaf. Why did you send for me? To taunt me with your victory in the place which I care for the least? Of course not, sir. We only wanted to offer you this meal as a gesture of goodwill. Please eat. Enjoy. That was good. They may be simple dishes, but Sharlayan does have its own local specialties. The art of quality cuisine was never wholly absent from our culture, despite what people think. I would never argue the importance of nutrition, but I believe what Master Jalvez says is true. Enjoyment of a meal tends to encourage digestion and thus a more efficient intake of nutrients. When I first proposed the recipe for Archon loaf, I did so with Melvin in mind. He was always so focused on his research that he neglected his dietary needs, and I thought to devise a convenient yet nutritious source of substance. He was taken from me before I had the chance to complete it. I was grief-stricken, angry at the loss of my friend, and his gourmet lifestyle became the target of my rage. Though it pains me to admit it, he was responsible for his own actions. It was wrong of me to lay the blame on the thing he loved most. Loved too much, it seems. And after considering the arguments laid out at the evaluation, I am forced to recognize that taste is an integral part of my work. I will begin research on a new perfect meal, one which will taste even better than your vaunted Mervin bread. But Mervin bread was never solely ours, Professor. It was your research and your panaloaf which provided the nutritional basis for our recipe. Claire and I simply improved the palatability while maintaining the balance with which it made it healthy in the first place. Mervin bread is as much your creation as it is mine or Claire's, which is why I implore you to continue improving it. With your resources and expertise, there's no one better positioned to solve the recipe's lingering issues and inefficiency. In that case, I shall need an assistant. Together, you and I will test the boundaries of what is possible in the field of gourmet health cuisine. Speaking of fine foods, I do have one complaint about those fish cakes of yours. There were too few. I seem to recall the dish being much larger back when Mervin and I used to eat them. Are there any more, perchance? That's so nice. See, they end on a good note. I love that they end on a nice note like that. Okay, so I think that's just about does it. I think we're just going to speak with them one more time, and that will be us closing out this particular faucet. I do believe that was the first time I've seen the professor smile. I'm glad our fish cake special had the desired effect. But my work at both the Studium and the Last Stand has just begun. I have an entire city to convince of the benefits of fine dining. Fortunately, it seems the professor is on our side now. We can expect the laboratory's research to expand into taste-related fields, and as part of my ongoing mission, I will do my utmost to see that it succeeds. Ah yes, this place is well suited to the study of flavor-based nutrition. We begin our research into more efficient preparation methods immediately. And here I thought my days of frantic baking were over. I better wash out my mixing bowl. Thank you for all your help, Claire. I could not have asked for a more perfect kitchen mate. Please do come and visit me from time to time, both at the Studium and as a vaunted patron of The Last Stand. Aww, so nice. Okay. After watching all that, I have to admit I am starving. So I'm going to take a quick break once I'm done here. We're Versio Baker. Claire, have you heard? The Faculty of Medicine has acknowledged the contribution of gourmet foods into our culture and has commissioned research into recipes from across the world. As for The Last Stand, we're seeing more customers than ever. It's like a beginning of a revolution for Sharlayan cuisine, and I'll be doing my part to make sure we keep this momentum going. Well, good for you, and look who's helping. Fusion the dish with a rich, savory flavor will require isolating the relevant property in cheese, and then, mayhap a more efficient method can be found with kelp. I have no idea what he's talking about, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Faculty of Medicine, and you'll be looking forward to what we do here next at the Studium. So until then, take care.